Your Excellency, thank you very much for welcoming us to your home. And after the 6-kilometer walk now, I think we can discuss matters politics. So let's start with the Building Bridges initiative. And this, of course, has been an idea that has been brought about as a result of the handshake. What are your thoughts on it?
My thoughts on it are that, of course, this was a very good initiative because, remember, after the 2017 elections, where I also participated as a candidate in Bungoma, the country was divided. It was like 50-50. The violence we witnessed, the tension that was in the country, and even as a speaker in the House, there was evident division and tension. Nothing was really moving. So I think it was a great idea that the tensions be brought down, that the leaders put the country before themselves. And I think from there, it did gain momentum, and I think the intention was very good that never again should this country fight or get into that kind of situation because of an election. So if the issues are put in place that will ensure that even after elections, say next year, we don't get into violence, we don't get that tension, and that the country remains united, I think it's a good initiative. So I think we really need to focus on that so that we avoid sideshows, we avoid things that are not going to help this country move forward or get the objective of the Building Bridges initiative or, the handshake. Right. I think that, to me, is what's really important. So in your opinion, are we as a country ready for a referendum? Are we ready to re-look at our constitution and maybe amend what needs to be amended? Yeah, I think we are ready. 10 years is a long period. And remember, the 2010 constitution was, if you remember, it was a give and take constitution. It was like a stopgap measure, to put something in place. What we needed to do, or what we need to do even as we go forward, is to take an audit of the 2010 constitution, find out what worked and what did not work, and why it didn't work, and therefore come up with mechanisms that will make sure that whatever we have, okay, a constitution is a living document, is an alive document, but if we can narrow in on the 20%. Remember, they said 20% had the issues. If we can narrow it down to maybe 5%, then I think that will be good to go. It will be helpful. So, in your opinion, what exactly is the Building Bridges initiative and that report? What is it fixing? I think what it should fix, to start with, from where I see it, is inclusivity, where every Kenyan feels that is part and parcel of... and do you feel that it's actually fixing that? That's a tough one. That's why they're saying that we need to, even now as we go to frame the question, because the question has not been framed, and now that we talk about the referendum. When we look at the question, I think the questions that will inform that referendum should be aimed at fixing, for example, the issue especially of violence after elections, the issue of everybody feeling included. Of course, there's no way everybody will be, say... will be included in government. And there's been the narrative that has been pushed that one of the things it is fixing is winner takes it all. Yeah. Do you feel that honestly and sincerely that the report that we have currently is going to sort that out? It may not sort that out per se, because again, like we are saying, if one party is one side is going to win, what happens to this side that will not win? Okay, in a way, because in a democracy, when you have an election, the majority have their way, and the minority will have their say. Correct. So in a vote, when we go to vote, of course, one side must lose, another one must win. But if, for example, whoever loses, like it has been proposed, then forms the opposition, it will also be in parliament now to put the government on its toes, then I think that will be a good idea, so that you don't just disappear. Say you get 6 million votes, and then you just disappear into oblivion, and then whoever has won now fixes everything and says, okay, because I won, now I just want to fix everything. I think that's where the problem has been. But again, the fundamental thing for me is to have a free and fair election, because that is where the problem is. The referee must be fair, right, because you can play very well and then you score and you are denied a goal, or you're given a dubious penalty, for example,
right,
then the fans will be agitated. They're saying it's not fair. So really, as we get towards that, what we should be really focusing on is the referee, the playground to be level, so that every Kenyan feels okay. You wake up in the morning. Remember, the people we are beginning to get what we call voter apathy, where you wake up very early in the morning at 6 to go and vote, and yet whether you vote or not, the vote does not count.
You feel that your vote does not count. And do you feel then that we are really concentrating on the right thing with the Building Bridges initiative? Because that has really been a bigger conversation on positions and, expanding the executive, whereas we should really maybe be concentrating on the IEBC as a fair referee.
Yes, in fact, that's what I'm saying, that we really need to concentrate, even as we go towards... we maybe get towards the tail end of the BBI. I think IBC, the referee, that must be fixed. It must be fixed early enough so that, like last time, the timelines were too tight. And, people can use that as an excuse that, you see, we have only 1 month to get materials, we have 1 month to do this. People are bound to make mistakes. So the referee must be right from the beginning. Whoever else, the linesmen and whoever else is going to participate in officiating that match must be right and must be known early enough so that everybody is comfortable.
So would it be fair to say that we have our priorities wrong in the sense that we are so geared up towards going towards a referendum, and yet it's the same IEBC who are going to oversee that process, yet we are not confident that we have a fair referee? Have we put our priorities wrong?
Maybe not this a bit extreme. The priorities are there, but we just need to rearrange. We just need to maybe relook at what we are putting first, because you see, you can fix, you can say, we'll have a prime minister, we'll have all these people. Then you go to an election with a wrong referee, or, you go with the body that is going to officiate, not doing the correct thing. Then we'll just end up where we have been. Right. So really, we must, for me as a priority, we must be able to fix that, the referee. Then the players, the teams can get ready, because I know the teams are now getting ready. And then the referee is known, that this is going to be the referee that will officiate the match. Then we go to the field and play.
So to that Mwananchi, to Wanjiko, who is sitting at home and wondering what is this BBI all about, they've had all manner of narratives, with one side saying this is the right thing, it's a constitutional moment, we've been told. We have another side that's saying, no, this is just about positions. What's your message to them?
My message to them is, let us look at what the BBI is addressing. And we are saying, in the moment it looks like it's being driven by 1 or 2 people, then people begin to resist. But if everybody is involved, everybody is included, everybody is participating, like they have said, they're going to the town hall meetings, and then after that, maybe it comes to Parliament, both the Senate and the National Assembly. These are people's representatives, you see, because they have been elected. Then everybody will understand. But if people don't understand, then they will get what their leaders tell them. One leader will go and people listen to their leaders. People will go to Bungoma and tell them, this BBI thing is about so and so, and therefore forget about it. And our people are very caliber. So they will be able to, they will buy that. But I think my plea to the people is that let us read the document, let us analyze, because this is about governance, this is about our future, this is about how this country is going to be, and maybe we must put in mind that the greater population of this country are the youth, so to say. So they must really also participate and understand that what we are doing today will have a great impact on them 10, 15 years to come.
Absolutely.
Today.
Have you read the document, and do you think it's the right way to go?
Yeah, I've read the document. Of course, it's the right way to go. Of course, it cannot be perfect. There are other areas that needed a bit of maybe input, and like they were saying, areas that have been flagged out. But I'm happy that some of the issues that were being raised even at Bomas, a number of them have been have been rectified. So I think it's fairly a good document, and it cannot be perfect, because not everybody's ideas can be put there, because everybody will come up with what they think It should be.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you, as Ken Lusaka, Speaker of the Senate, put the document?
Maybe 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
Yes.
Okay, so we'd be headed in the right direction.
Right.
All right, let's talk about something different, and this is devolution.
Yes.
We do know that one of the proposals in that document is, or one of the proposals that had been floated, is to have Nairobi County under national government. We also have seen what has happened to Nairobi County. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think that was reversed. I think there's a very strong argument that was put up to say Nairobi should not suffer. Nairobi should also should also benefit from should benefit just from like another county devolution.
Right.
Of course, they were comparing to other cities like Washington and other countries where the city is run by the national government or a ministry of metropolitan. But I think there are bigger things that devolution has brought. For example, representation in Nairobi. We have wards in Nairobi. We have the woman rep, but then we have, they should also be able to benefit from that. I think Nairobi should not be judged because of the leadership, because again, I think leadership, when leadership is a problem in a county, then that county is bound to suffer. But again, this goes back to the electorates, our people, that let us look at whoever we are electing to lead a county. So I think that Nairobi, I think that was reversed. Nairobi is still going to remain as a county, but we must get proper leadership, we must get proper structures for the people of Nairobi also to benefit from devolution.
All right, and of course we've seen what has happened so far with, Governor Mike Sonko being impeached, and he says that he was hounded out by Senate.
The impeachment process actually starts with the county assembly. The trial is what comes to the Senate, and senators, there are two ways of doing it. You can either go the plenary way or go the committee way. The framework, the architecture of the Senate or the Parliament is that you express your views through a vote. So, and that then becomes very difficult because you see, you can say all the good English that you have, but at the end of the day, it is the vote that really counts.
There are those who feel that if you're politically correct, you would have survived. For instance, case in point, we have the likes of Anne Waiguru, who some feel that because of her political good standing with the powers that be, she survived, whereas Mike Mbuvi Sonko and Babayao did not survive. What would you say to them?
For me, as a referee, really, I sit there and preside over. Mine is to ensure that everybody gets a hearing, everybody, the level is ground, even the playing ground is level. But again, here you are dealing with politicians, and politicians, I've never been to Parliament. This is my first time to be there as a speaker. What I know is there's a lot of lobbying, and this happens everywhere, all the world over. Right. The world over, when it comes to, you want a certain bill to go through, you want a certain motion to go through, it depends on how effective your lobbying will be, and that's done by the whips, by the leadership of the House, the leader of majority, and the whips. Because sometimes you realize, you notice, like even when we had the Division of Revenue Bill, which failed about 10 times. Again, it depends on the lobbying. Because you can lobby, and when the bell is rung and the bars are drawn and they say take a vote, you have no numbers. Then you definitely lose it. So it's a matter of really lobbying. So I can't really tell whether who is on the right side of the
policy. But evidently, politically speaking, you have to, maybe you call it lobbying or horse trading, whatever term we want to use, you have to be politically correct for you to survive an impeachment, which then again casts the question on democracy and the question as to whether we are being fair.
Fairness is relative, and again, politics is just politics, the way you know it. I think what one needs to do, my own experience is that you really must learn to be strategic. You must know, like just when you're driving a vehicle, you must know when to engage top gear, you must know when to use a four-wheel, because if you're on tarmac and you're engaging four-wheel, then you realize you're wasting time. So I think it's a matter of being strategic and understanding how you play. Like there's the draft, you remember? The draft that we used to play, yes. The draft, where someone can tell you, eat this, then he pushes one.
Push you one to eat,
push
and then
one,
they eat two.
He eats two, or he eats the rest, and then right. the game is over. So you must be very careful how you move. I think my understanding, especially African politics, having done, I'm a political science student, having done political science, you must know what time to engage and how to move. Otherwise, you can end up just, believing. We will talk about democracy, we'll talk about these things, but again, there's also the reality. In any case, most of these ideologies, democracy, whatever, are even alien to us. So how we implement them sometimes is different.
It's like we're guessing. All right, another area I'm sure many Kenyans would want to hear what you have to say is in the area of corruption. Do you think we're winning the war?
Yeah, I think we are winning the war. It's just that, you see, the current the agencies that we have, let's say the EACC, I think they changed tact. There were those who, whenever they did something small, they wanted it magnified and publicized and cameras. But I think the current leadership in EACC have changed tact, and they are doing a lot of work, but quietly, without necessarily coming out to shout. Because again, when you come out to show, to shout too much, then you even alert those that you may be targeting.
Right.
But I've always said, and I think one way this can be tried, that there's what we call amnesty. And amnesty has worked in many countries, and remember like what we did when we were changing the notes. You'll say, for example, we're giving you 6 months. If you have the old notes, make sure that you bring them back. After that, we are going to change. My take has been, for example, if you give an amnesty, because corruption fights back, and it's like a cancer that has gotten deep into society. What we can also, the approach we can also take is to say, give an amnesty of say 6 months or 7 months. If you have land, for example, that does not mean you corruptly acquired, belongs to government, return that land. Then say, after say, if this is January, after July, if you will be found again, then put tough measures in place on the penalty. That if you will be found, just like it happens in other countries, the penalty will be very harsh and live to that expectation. Then we will gain much. That's why I've seen people saying there's what we call pre-bargain.
Right.
Some pre-bargaining. It has worked out, because if you take somebody to jail and he has taken, say, 100 acres of land, corruptly, you're not getting back that land. You'll continue. He may come out and continue using the proceeds of that land. So I think we need to have a different approach. We need to, everybody needs to be involved in this so that it's not left to, say, the agencies that are investigating or dealing with it, but at all, we start with ourselves. Start with yourself.
What would you say to the fact that we have very few cases where we have seen anybody caught and penalized for it? We seem to have things just go around. We hear investigations, there's arrests, there's releases, but in terms of convictions, we get very, very few. And Kenyans get wary, feeling that these are just charades that we are, playing to.
I think the biggest challenge, and again, what I was saying is that we like over-dramatizing things in this country. Then because of public pressure. For example, you arrest somebody, you have not even done investigations. Then you ask for time now to go and investigate. Then you start operating within a very tight framework. Then you get pressure. Then you do a shoddy job. And I think the outgoing CJ Maraga did put it very well that, you see, they don't go looking for cases. And courts deal with whatever evidence has been put on the table. And you are not going to not threaten the judiciary just to convict somebody because you want so and so convicted without evidence. So I think the prosecution must do their work thoroughly. They must take time. It may take long, but it's better to take long and do a thorough job than hurry up and then the case collapses in court, because they will not go by public opinion, they will not go by the pressures that we're talking about. There must be a watertight case that is taken there, and then it can be prosecuted to the end.
To the end. All right, as we come to the tail end of this interview, what is your political future? Are you going to go back into active politics now once we get to 2022 when you're no longer Speaker of Senate?
That is going, the waters now are still, once a politician, always a politician, but the waters are still muggy. It's getting a bit untidy, so you can't really tell. Of course, I'm getting a lot of pressure from Bungoma that I go back as a governor, because then people are able to compare.
Would you consider going back
this as governor? Something I'm grappling with it. I've not yet made up my mind, but I'm trying to imagine. Because again, if there's a lot of pressure and people genuinely feel you did a good job and we want you to come and maybe complete what you started, because people can now compare. By the way, as first governors, we had no comparison, we had no reference point. But now there's a reference point, and that's why you can find now people are able to compare what we did putting in place structures and what the current governors who came in first timers are also doing. So sometimes when there is that pressure, then you can maybe say, maybe if people are genuine for the sake of going to touch, to touch the lives of my people, then you can consider going to do that. But again, if that doesn't work, then, everybody has, having also been a speaker, it's a very high in pecking order, myself and my colleague.
So based on what you've just said, how would you rank your performance as governor?
I did very well. For the time I was governor, the polls that were carried out 3 times, I was number 2. Alfred Mutua used to be number 1, and Bungoma used to be number 2. And in fact, agriculture was number 1, education I was number 1. So I think I did well. And if you go to Bungoma, I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but if you make a complicated one, you can blow it. But if you go to Bungoma and ask the people of Bungoma, they will tell you what I did is like sunshine and darkness. It's
compared to what is happening now.
Yeah, it can all be seen, because you really must, like you're talking about priorities, you must really understand what the people want, because you must fix the basics. You cannot say you want to do a big, grandiose project when people don't have water, even they're still fetching water. The basics. So you need to fix the basics. The dispensaries down there, they have no drugs, and that's where, the common mwananchi rushes to, and you're putting up, say, a level 5 hospital. Then again, you are not touching the lives of the people. So I think I did a good job.
Okay, so should you consider going back to being governor of Bungoma? What is it that you do differently? I'm sure there are mistakes that you probably found that you made. What would you do differently?
What I would do differently is, having served as a civil servant and as a permanent secretary, when I went, I believed in hands-off, letting people do. You give assignment and you let people perform their work. I think if I were to go back, I'll change that a little bit and be a bit hands-on, because, again, people tend to let you down. A lot of the issues that would come up, a lot of the issues that would end up in ESCC, Auditor General, are issues that maybe if I was hands-on, or if somebody's hands-on, you would have noticed them and fixed them. But I went with the mentality like, I have given you a responsibility, I trust you, do your bit. And, I am at the top there just managing and making sure that people work for me. I work through people. So I think that I would change a bit, because I was too trusting. We want people to perform, then they end up doing their own thing. So that is what I would
And you do differently. All right, 2020 was definitely a very difficult year for everybody, particularly because of COVID-19. 2021 is one that we're looking up with hope. What message do you have to Kenya for 2021?
2021, we must start fixing, because, 2020 would say, like you've rightly said, and many people have said, was like a lost year. People lost jobs, a lot of things were not working. Even as Senate, we were now sitting only once in a week, as opposed to 3 times in a week. So I think we really need to, I can see that politics is already, we have started on a very high note already, but I think we need to reduce a bit of the politics so that we are able to focus on a bit of development up to maybe towards the end of this year. Otherwise, if we start the way we have started, it's going to be politics throughout, and this will go on until 2022, September, October, when now we go back. You can imagine how much we would have lost as a country in terms of development, in terms of fixing and trying to even come up with things that will empower the youth, what we call the small enterprises, that the youth can do, because really it has been very tough. Even for some of us who are working, you can now imagine a youth or somebody who is unemployed, what the situation has been or is like. So these are the things that we really must look at and fix.
All right. And do you see Jubilee making it to 2022 as one unit?
I was a member of Jubilee. Actually, I was the first one to wind up my party. I was a party leader of New Ford Kenya, remember? And I was the first one among the 12 parties that came together to form Jubilee. And our vision was clear. We wanted a national party, a party that would be strong enough to take this country to the next level. Actually, I was one of those, again, who went to China just to look at the Chinese, the ruling party. What is it called? The Chinese People's... Is it party, the Chinese party, the ruling party? And we went to benchmark and the idea was to have a strong party. You know, KANU was a strong party. It's just that, again, at some point, it was not properly managed. So it's unfortunate that we have started now with the wrangles that are there. I sincerely, I don't foresee it going to the end and
to the elections.
To the elections,
which of course now becomes the other problem we have as a country, because we never have a political party that will take 2 elections. We normally have to wind it up, which leaves the question: what are those political parties all about? Just power, nothing about longevity.
I think it's all about power, and that is something we must really change. We have something called multimedia democracy. There's an organization, I think it's now being headed by one of the senators, multi-something democracy.
Center for
Multi-Party Democracy.
Right.
It's being headed by my Senator Abshiro. I think we need a lot of civic education on political parties, because let us have political parties formed on ideologies, so that, and I keep making reference to the original Ford, whose agenda was to take over power from KANU, so that KANU was the status quo. KANU and these fellows, the Ford came together as people who, as an alternative voice, because they didn't like the way KANU was governing the country. And you see with people like Oginga Odinga, Masinde Muliro, Barma His, and all that, they were like-minded people. There's something that united them. There was a meeting point, an ideology that put them together. But since that time, then you remember, then Ford Asili came up, then Ford Kenya came up. Since that time, we've just had political parties that are political vehicles to take people to parliament or to presidency. We've not had political parties that have been based on ideology. If you look at even the manifesto, they will just go and remodel a bit, maybe change a few things, remove the date, but the manifesto will be the same manifesto that was presented in 2017, whichever party will win out.
How do we fix that?
That, like I'm saying, we need, I think, to have a conversation as a country, so that we are able, look at countries like America, we have the Democrats and the liberals, and in my view, we just need maybe 3 parties, 2 strong parties, and then one will be like a middle ground, where if you're not satisfied, you can go there, so that we are able to focus. But this idea of, when you are dissatisfied, you form your own party. And this party, because you are sure of a nomination, you get a nomination, go to parliament, then you can't survive, you are now an alliance. You remember what NASA was doing? Political parties come together, what did Jubilee did? In fact, Jubilee said, now people wind up their parties so that they come together, and there are those that say, no, we will just, we'll have a coalition with you, a working arrangement with you. Instead of those kind of things, why don't? Because they are just selfish.
Right.
The political parties, they belong to, you can associate it with somebody, with a particular individual. You remove that individual, then you forget about that party. I think we should move away from that. We must have a national conversation where we have political parties based on ideologies, and they stand for something.
Okay, I want us to wind up, and Mheshimiwa, what is your outlook for 2021, especially economically speaking? What message do you have to Kenyans?
I think it's going to be a tough year. We must tighten our belts. But again, for those who are dealing with the resource allocation, let us focus our resources in areas that are going to improve the lives of our people. Of course, one thing that we have learned as a result of this COVID is the need to invest heavily in our health sector, especially in the counties. We must also look at, like I said, the small enterprises that are going to create employment. If the youths can be empowered, instead of becoming job seekers, they become job creators. If we focus our attention there, then we'll start getting it right. Otherwise, as it is, most people are getting very desperate. We can easily see an increase in crime because people must then survive. Because we have very many people who have completed universities, they are just hanging around, they have no jobs. So we must really fix that. And if we can focus also on the counties, so that, the initial idea of decentralization, devolution, was to devolve not just, to devolve functions, and also to decongest, say, Nairobi, to decongest our cities. But again, if you find that now people are congregating in Kisumu, Mombasa, Nairobi, then it means devolution is not yet working
as it's supposed
to work. right up to the ward level. For example, if you have a cottage industry, you have power, what we are calling the last mile, and you have power there, and you have a cottage industry there, people are able to plant tomatoes and make tomato sauce and be able to sell. They create an environment that will facilitate them even to export, or that will really help. So I think for Kenyans, let's brace ourselves for hard times, but it's not all is lost. And those working on resource allocation, let us allocate our resources in areas that are going to benefit the Mwananchi.
The Mwananchi. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Honorable Ken Lusaka, the Speaker of the Senate, for allowing us to just interact with you and get to know you a little bit more. Thank you very much.
Thank you.